Eminem said Kendrick's new album left him speechless. That's interesting given the two songs we're going to focus on today. One is almost an updated, less violent version of Kim, and the other drops like 10 F-bombs. Now, we've talked about my process for how I intake and process movies, and it's very similar with music. I go in with fresh ears and listen. I sit with it for a bit, make sure I have my own feelings and takes about it. Then I check to see what others are saying. Evidence sways me. There may be something that I missed. What doesn't move me are other people's opinions alone. So here's my not so quick review before we get into the meat of the video. The album was okay, I guess. I've only listened to the whole thing once and some of the songs a couple times. Mind you, I went into this wanting to like it. Of the quote-unquote new generation leaders, Drake, J. Cole, and Kendrick, some people put Big Sean in there as well, I do. I had Kendrick as number one before this album. Kendrick is always going to rap well, always. In my opinion, he's the best pure rapper of the four that I mentioned. But this album lacked meaningful substance for me. Like, I don't need or want To Pimp a Butterfly. That was actually my least favorite project of his. But give me something that shows your growth. To me, he regressed. And let's be clear, I'm talking about as an artist. Yes, I understand that the album is a post-therapy version of Kendrick Lamar. I get that. But nah. On To Pimp a Butterfly, damn. And the Black Panther album. He was showing love to black women, and they were queens, and he was encouraging them to be themselves and to love themselves. On this album, they're back to being bitches. Do I like or listen to music that calls women bitches? Absolutely. But not new music. It's a nostalgia thing. Compare it to having a friend that used to do something that you really didn't like, but you one day addressed it. I don't think it makes sense to hold those past things against them. But if they do it currently, you're gonna have a problem. As for the production, most of the beats didn't really do anything for me. I also think Kendrick may have regressed in his flow, where Kendrick would always switch up his flow even multiple times in a verse, and it just worked. And oftentimes it felt fresh or novel. On this project, a lot of the flows that he chooses just feel like standard trap flows. I'm honestly not sure if that's a product of people trying to be like him and they've caught up, or what. Also, there's way too much Kodak Black on this album. He's seriously on like 4 songs. I've never been a fan of his music or his style. I didn't even know he had recent sexual assault accusations. So yeah, people are upset about that, and I get that. But that wasn't why I didn't like him being on the album. I'm just not a fan of his. I won't give the album a score. Now on to my 2 biggest issues. I already mentioned him calling women bitches, but don't think I'm nitpicking here.
What is a bitch in a miniskirt? Text messaging bitches got my thumbs hurt like the first time I fucked a white bitch. Bitch, I'm attractive, can't fuck with you no more, I'm fasting. Why you always in the mirror more than the bitches?
Now mind you, this is excluding anytime he connects niggas with bitches. And anytime I'm sure he's not talking about a woman, and anytime I may not be completely sure. It also leaves out one song in particular, which uses the word bitch 43 times. We Cry Together.
Graceful ass bitches, dumb bitches. Bitch, I don't know shit, bitch, you tripping.
All first verse.
I don't like it. I'm not here for it. I don't agree with this super weird way of handling conflict in relationships. I've seen it go badly way too many times where one of the parties, and it's not always the man, starts to realize that they can get away with anything because all they have to do is have sex with their partner afterwards and all will be forgiven. I see a lot of people that like the song. I'll gladly stay in the minority with this one. The second song I have a real issue with is Auntie Diaries. Now, just like the Kodak thing, I've come across new info since I last listened to this particular thing. People in the community are taking issue with the song for dead naming and misgendering. Now, I didn't catch those when I listened. That's likely because I'm not in the community, but more on that in a second. I take this as a great example of why we should listen to those who were affected by things, but I digress. The big issue I have with this song is that I love the concept. I just believe it was executed poorly. More specifically, he couldn't land it properly. I take issue with people outside of a group freely using a word that was basically invented to disrespect said group. There was no reason for him to say it, especially not 10 times in one song. I hear the pushback now, but he was talking from the perspective of the old him. I've actually taken that into account. That's why I didn't view other things in the song as dead naming or misgendering. But as I said before, I'm not in that group, so I'm not gonna tell them when and when not to be offended unless they ask. The majority of the song being a perspective before he quote-unquote learned his lesson means there really was no reason for him to say it 3 more times after he breaks away from the original perspective. That would be like claiming you put the work in to study and understand the material and then you fail your first test. Do these things make this a terrible album? Not at all. I'm not even sure I would call it a bad album. Am I ever going to give the whole thing another listen? Probably not. Anyway, thanks for watching. I'll talk to you guys later.